The Louie T Network is powered by MusicHead University. MusicHeads, classes in session. Turn me up. Enroll on YouTube now. Link is in the description.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to the Command Post Live. You know what it is. Post up. Take command. Of course, am your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. I told you either I would be back with the Kings or I would be back solo. No Kings tonight. Definitely going to go tomorrow. This one was on me as to why the Kings didn't go tonight. I charged that one to my account. Had some family things going on, but we will get the Kings up and running tomorrow. And so looking forward to doing that. But I told you I was going to come back, hit y'all with some DQ flavor. He talked as well as the two coordinators, and DQ had a lot to say today. So I want to go through what was said by Dan Quinn and get to all of the different topics that were brought up during his press conference, because of all of the pressers, his may have been the longest. Dante Jones was pretty long, but DQ, I think I can actually look up and see whose was the longest. Yeah, Durante got him by 3 minutes, just a shade under 3 minutes, about 2 minutes and a half, roughly. So Durante's was pretty thorough because he's brand new, but DQ wasn't that far behind, and so there was a lot to glean from his presser. So we'll get to that in a bit, but you know how we do here. House cleaning, right? Let's take care of that first. And right after this press conference took place, they announced that Tress Way was back. Did anybody ever think Tress wasn't going to be back? Was this even up for debate? Okay. Good to have the best punter that we've ever seen in our lifetime here in Washington continue to be here in Washington. Again, until Tress Way shows signs of deterioration, I mean, he was at the Pro Bowl. I don't even know why I bring stuff like that up. Shador Sanders was at the Pro Bowl games this year. Like, don't bring up the Pro Bowl ever again, okay? But, you know, Tress was still one of the best punters this season, continues to be one of the most reliable guys that we have on this roster. Whether things are going good or bad, we can always count on Tress Way to be one of the beacons of light, even when the season is as dark as it was last year. So he's one of those guys that I believe, until he shows true, like, ridiculous deterioration, he's going to be here as long as he wants to continue to be here. As long as he has the desire to continue to kick and he's doing it at a high level, he's an excellent holder, right? Like, you know how many times he saved balls that were snapped into the dirt too high? He's gotten them down in perfect holding position for the kick. That goes to me. He's unheralded in that regard. I think that goes unstated and isn't talked about enough. Part of having a great punter is a guy that can also hold the football, and Tress does that as well as anyone in the league. So good for Tress Way, man. And I don't know how long the extension is for. I hope it's for at least 2 years. You know, they love the 1 year, thing here. So this could just be a 1 year deal bringing him back. But I would love to see it be for 2 more years. But, we'll see how long Tress is here for. But long live Tress Way, man. Long live Tress Way. So another piece of information that Dan Quinn, and he really started his press conference out with showing respects to the Washington Post, who lost their sports section, which meant he named the 3 different beat reporters that were no longer on the beat because the Post doesn't exist anymore. So there was that. He showed respects to Sonny Jurgensen. We did that on this program as well. Shout out to Sonny Jurgensen. May he rest in paradise. And then to the cornerback that we lost. Oh, why am I blanking on his name? Let me pull it up real quick. Barry Wilborn, Barry Wilburn passed away at the age of 62. So he showed respects to him as well. That's how he started off his press conference. The next big thing that he spoke about at his presser was the changes made to the staff. Now, he didn't give us all of the changes. He gave us the vast majority of them. But here, I have a full layout of all of the changes the Commanders have made. So this is what it looks like now, okay? The Washington Commanders have announced multiple title changes for coaches on their staff. So let's go through this and nitpick one by one. Andre Coleman to assistant wide receivers coach / returners coach. See if we can find Andre here. So Andre was just an offensive assistant last year. As you can see, Andre is your second guy on the top shelf here. He was the offensive assistant last year. So he's gotten an upgrade in title to assistant wide receivers coach / returners coach. So he actually has a designated role. It's not some objective, arbitrary name like offensive coach. He's actually got a real title. So big step up in responsibilities for Andre Coleman. Anthony Lynn to running backs coach. I'm under the assumption that Anthony Lynn was running backs coach last year. Let's take a look. Run game coordinator / running backs coach. So I don't know if they took the run game coordinator portion of his title away and gave it to someone else, or if it's the exact same thing. They just didn't list it on that particular sheet. We'll continue on. I'm going to assume that his duties have remained unchanged. He's still your run game coordinator. He's still your running backs coach, is Anthony Lynn. Jesse Madden to assistant running backs coach. So let's see if we can track down Jesse Madden here. Or here. Jesse Madden is at the bottom in the middle here. He did not have a title last year. So again, much like we just talked about with Andre Coleman, who really didn't have a real title, Jesse Madden now officially has a title, that of assistant running backs coach. So big step up the food chain for a guy like Jesse Madden. Darnell Stapleton, we talked about him already. We know that he last year was an assistant offensive line coach, as you see here down at the bottom left-hand corner. Assistant offensive line coach. He has been elevated to the offensive line coach. So big step up for Darnell Stapleton. We'll see how he handles this new responsibility. Shane Tobe is now your assistant offensive line coach. So Shane Tobe last year was offensive quality control, as you can see down in the bottom right-hand corner. So Shane Tobe is now your your assistant offensive line coach, getting a big bump up from offensive quality control. All right. So yeah, QC basically. Yeah, QC is what he was last year on the offensive side. So he is now the assistant offensive line coach. Wes Welker doesn't still have an official title. Last year, let's see if they had Wes Welker even here. I don't think they even had a picture of Wes Welker last year. No, I don't think he had a picture, but he was essentially the defensive version of Shane Tobe. I guess he's like a defensive quality. I don't even want to say that's what he was. He was more of an offensive assistant. Like John Pagano here is listed as a senior defensive assistant. We could say Wes Welker was just an offensive assistant or a defensive assistant, because really last year, DQ said he helped on the defensive side and he was helping on special teams. And he referenced this guy here, Brian Schneider, who is here on the top right-hand corner, the assistant special teams coordinator. And DQ said he's currently dealing with a bout of cancer. So prayers up to Brian Schneider. Hope his, therapy, whatever he is, electing to do in terms of trying to get rid of that cancer, send it into remission, what may have you. Hopefully he is on the mend and is able to send that cancer into remission and come back to work. But right now, his job of assistant special teams coordinator was being filled by Wes Welker, in addition to Welker helping on the defensive side of the football. So now he is the offensive assistant. George Banco to assistant linebackers coach. Last year, George Banco was defensive quality control. So he was defensive QC. We talked about offensive QC already. George Banco was defensive QC. Now he's got a step up in rank. He is now an assistant linebackers coach. So again, another big move, a lot of promotion from within, guys that they believe in, continuing to keep these guys in-house on staff and promoting from within. Tommy Donatel remains the defensive backs coach / safeties coach. So this is pretty interesting, right? Because last year there was no individual. Let's go through these coaches just to make sure, but I'm pretty sure there was no individual coach for the cornerbacks. So you see Tommy Donatel is listed as defensive backs coach. There was no specific coach just on the corners, right? There was no specific coach just on the safeties. Tommy Donatel was handling all of it, right? As we continue to go through, there is no, defensive cornerbacks coach, no safeties coach. As you go through, there's no one specifically handling that particular role. I love that this year they separated the two. While Tommy Donatel will oversee the entire defensive backs room, he has been charged with focusing specifically on the safeties. Why is that? Now, he's still the defensive backs coach overall, right? So that's still his room. But he's sharing that duty now as just the safeties coach with William Gay, who was promoted from just an assistant defensive backs coach to now having a more specialized role as a cornerbacks coach. So he will be specifically focusing in on the cornerback room, and he will share the title of defensive backs coach with Tommy Donatel. I love that for William Gay. There was talk of him potentially leaving and going to Pittsburgh to join Jason Simmons and Joe Witt Jr. DQ would have none of it. He's keeping William Gay on staff and promoting him to cornerbacks coach / defensive backs coach. As you can see, last year, he was just an assistant defensive backs coach. So big upgrade in title for William Gay. And I like that he's going to be a little bit more hands-on on the corners in particular. And I think his role will be a lot like what we saw with Al Harris in Chicago, where you had a former defensive back, more hands-on with these corners in particular. And that'll allow Tommy Donatel to be a lot more hands-on specifically with the safeties. Continuing on, Daryl Tapp, we know, is assistant defensive line coach. We know he was the defensive line coach last year. John Pagano, if you look at what John Pagano was last year, he was a senior defensive assistant. He has been promoted to outside linebackers coach. Remember, that has been vacated by one Ryan Kerrigan, who was the outside linebackers coach / edge rusher, pass rush specialist. He is no longer here. So as you can see here, or it's not up here, but yeah, Ryan Kerrigan was the pass rush specialist. So he's no longer here. Outside linebackers coach. He doubled as both. That's going to go to John Pagano now. The DJ Williams, we know, promoted to or brought in from Atlanta, where he was the quarterback's coach, to serve the same role here in Washington, taking the place of Tavita Pritchard, who left to be the head coach at Stanford. And of course, our assistant quarterback's coach would have been the easy, natural transition to be the new quarterback's coach, but he's now our offensive coordinator. Then Eric Henderson is the new defensive line coach. We've talked about that. And Daryl Tapp, as we just mentioned, 2 assistant defensive line coach. So all of those changes have officially been made. So now there technically isn't any voids. Remember, we talked about, now the only thing that isn't listed here that they said, we Nikki Javala had reported this, that they wanted to bring in some sort of pass rush specialist, someone to help on the defensive line. I don't know if they view that person as Eric Henderson or not, because that was prior to Eric Henderson being brought in. But there's still an opportunity for them to bring in some sort of pass rush specialist if they so choose. Again, that could just be Eric Henderson when they spoke of wanting to bring someone in here to help with the pass rush. It could have been just talking about Eric Henderson, keeping Tapp on staff, but bumping him down and allowing Eric Henderson to become the defensive line coach. So in any event, a lot of changes have been made. And if any more happen, we will be, I will keep you abreast of those changes. Anyhow, now let's get to the press conference of Dan Quinn. And talk about what was said. So we already talked about all of the changes to the staff that he mentioned. So we'll just jump right into why the change was one of the first questions. As a matter of fact, it was the first question asked by John Kahn. And he basically said, philosophical beliefs. Like, we just didn't, and I don't want to put words in his mouth. I'm paraphrasing, but they clearly had a different vision for what this offense was supposed to look like, or they wanted it to look like. And clearly the defense had to go in a different direction. That goes without saying. So he said they did what was best for the organization moving forward. He made it abundantly clear that Jaden Daniels is the singular most important thing inside of this franchise when you're talking about doing what's best for the organization. Cliff Kingsbury wasn't terrible at his job. He wasn't great. He wasn't terrible. But in looking at Jaden Daniels, seeing the injury-riddled season that he had, looking at his growth and development or lack thereof, and then you take it a step further, the growth and development or lack thereof of the offensive scheme that he was running, there was a lot there that they just didn't love. And you could see, now that we're looking back at last season, you start to hear things, towards the end of the season into the offseason with Diana Rossini and talking about there's a rift between Cliff Kingsbury and Adam Peters. But I think there was a rift between Dan Quinn and Cliff Kingsbury as well. I mean, I do think that we kind of saw that in specific games when Jaden got under center. You saw that when Mariota got in the lineup and we were under center a ton. Josh Johnson late in the season, we were under center a bunch. That was all under the directive of Dan Quinn. This is why you got a mutual parting of ways. That's why when he was questioned about his offensive approach, Cliff Kingsbury got testy and chesty at the end of the season because it was being threatened. He was being told, get under center more, run the ball more. And you can see that there was a philosophical divide. And that's why the changes were made. He was asked, why does he believe David Blau is ready? You guys nailed this one. You guys absolutely. I can't take the credit for this one. This one is all on you guys because you guys were the ones that said this. We had PTSD, but I couldn't put that on Dan Quinn. But you guys were the ones that said he had talent in Atlanta on his staff offensively that he passed over for Steve Sarkisian, and you guys thought that was the main reason that David Blau got the nod, right? He couldn't allow it to happen to him again. And literally, he said he learned from the Atlanta situation where he had guys there, they went on to do great things, and he needed to explore those opportunities, and he missed the target. So he said he wasn't going to miss this opportunity and chance this time around. Mike McDaniel is the main guy, but Matt LaFleur was there too as well in Atlanta. He passed up both of those guys to be his offensive coordinator, and maybe they weren't ready back in 2017. Maybe they weren't ready to be the offensive coordinator, but it's hard to look back and now and see what these guys have morphed into, and maybe they were ready and he just wasn't willing to give them the opportunity, but he wasn't going to allow that to happen with David Blau. So you guys nailed that one because he literally referenced his first stint as a head coach back in Atlanta when he missed the opportunity to promote some guys within that were young and talented as offensive play callers. So he was then asked, what does he expect from Dante Jones as his defensive coordinator? And he said he learned a lot from speaking with both Brian Flores and Dante Jones during the interview process. He asked Dante to look at the players without talking to him first to eliminate bias, which he wanted Dante Jones to evaluate this staff or this roster, defensively to see what pieces were salvageable, basically. Like, what do you think of this guy? What do you think of that guy? Do you think that this guy is worth bringing back? This guy's on the last year of his deal. Should he be back? And he wanted to know, like, is Jartavius Martin salvageable or not? Is this a guy you're interested in? This is a former second-round pick. What did you think of him coming out of Illinois? What do you think about what you've seen on tape from him? He wanted those answers from him. So he said, you watch the film independent of me. I'm not going to give you my thoughts on any of these guys. I want to hear what you think of these players. He said that Durante's ability to calmly identify what guys could do and how they could be best utilized hit home with him. You can see that from Dante Jones. You can hear it in his voice that he can calmly identify what guys can and can't do and how they can be put in positions to best be maximized. And Dante Jones talked about that. Hell, he talked about an IEP. Okay. Like, he sold DQ on, I can fix some of these pieces and parts that you have. I can put him in better positions, which I've been screaming about. Like, I don't think Mikey Sainristil is this broken corner who can't play at the NFL level, who, doesn't have a position. You just have to figure out how to best utilize Mikey Sainristil. I think Dante Jones is going to be able to figure that out. He was then asked, how did Dante Jones change his mind? Remember, DQ specifically told us that he was thinking about keeping the play calling duties to himself. Remember, he ended the season as the team's defensive play caller. But if he didn't, if he hired someone outside of the building, which he ultimately did, it was going to be someone with experience. It wasn't going to be a first-time play caller. He said he wowed him. Dante Jones absolutely wowed him. He said with his vision for the defense, I think this next one is a big one because DQ, this is all he talks about. And usually wherever DQ goes, turnovers follow, but has not been the case here in Washington. He said creating takeaways. We saw the diagram. I've shown you the diagram of Dante Jones talking about the various points of pressure and how you attack them and how you can get the football out. So he had a presentation strictly on forcing turnovers. I've never seen anything like it. Not saying he's the first or the only guy to ever do that, but again, I can't think of too many guys that have something like that, right? So he sold DQ on the idea of being able to create turnovers and disguises on defense, putting together different looks and disguising things. One of the issues I had with this defense, and I had a lot of issues with the defense, but one of the issues I talked about was that we didn't fool anybody. Our blitzes were easy to identify. It wasn't hard for them to call out the mic. It wasn't hard for them to establish where the pressure was coming from and slide protection to pick it up, to give the quarterback ample time to then, dissect our secondary. Nothing was tricky about what we were doing. When we did finally decide to bring pressure, it was easy to pick up. Rarely did we get free hitters, coming free after the quarterback. Rarely did someone come scot-free and like, oh my God, look out. Because we don't disguise anything well. Everything is predictable. If it looks like a double A-gap blitz, it probably is a double A-gap blitz. Or one of them is dropping out, or both of them is dropping out. Either way, you can pick it up. It's either 6 guys rushing, 2 extras in the A-gap, 5 guys rushing, 1 extra in the A-gap, or none of them are rushing, and it's just a 4-man rush. They were bluffing. Either way, we got it. We can pick it up. There was no variety, no variation. We used to get excited. We got excited. You remember when we were over, when this team was over in Spain, and we got the cat blitz from Jonathan Jones and he got the sack. Remember how excited we were? Something as simple as a cat blitz we were excited about because we don't get it. We don't see that type of variation here in Washington. That type of disguise. Well, that was one of the things Dante sold DQ on. Changed his mind because he was looking for Patrick Graham. One of these guys that would have made us roll our eyes. One of these guys that would have made us feel like, well, this shit's going to go to hell in a handbasket, or we'll be a basic, standard, run-of-the-mill, 22nd, best defense in the league type of team. We thought he was setting us up for one of those guys. He fooled us. Or more importantly, Dante Jones wowed him. and sold him on the fact that he was ready. He was asked, how much did Blau's experience with Jaden weigh in? He said, it wasn't the deciding factor, but it definitely weighed in. And then this was the most important thing he said here. Every decision they make on the offensive side is made with Jaden in mind. That's important for me to hear, because while we understand it's a 53-man roster, 70 when you take the practice squad into consideration, Jaden is the organization for all intents and purposes. When you look around the National Football League and you look at teams that are triple Ps, as I call them, perennial playoff participants, when you look at those teams, they've all got one thing in common. They've all got one of them ones, usually one of those ones at quarterback. They've got a guy. Maybe not one of them ones, right? But they've got a guy at quarterback. And if you've got one of them ones, it's more specific. You got one of them ones, which we do. Then every decision you make has to be with that guy's best interest at heart. And DQ even said when he made these decisions, he communicated with Jaden. We'll get to that a little bit later on in DQ's press conference, which is what you're supposed to do. Josh Allen was a part, and I'm not telling you that every franchise is the same. Josh Allen was a part of them hiring and promoting within Joe Brady. They said that Josh Allen sat in on most of their interviews with these head coaches. Not every organization is going to be run in that way. But again, when you got a guy that caliber, he should be involved in some way, shape, or form. Or at a bare minimum, you should be thinking about him when you make these decisions, because he's that important to the organization. So then DQ was asked about what unique skill sets do these coordinators have? And DQ, I thought this was shots fired by DQ. And I may be stretching it here a bit. This might not be shots fired. Officially. But I do think he was definitely criticizing without criticizing. I think he was indirectly taking a shot at his two coordinators from last year. He basically said, fresh eyes. He said an element of a new scheme, new ideas, different lens, right? So while on the surface, it just seems like he's saying we just needed to change shit up. I think back to last year, and I think back to a couple of games in particular, and then I think about the narrative on Cliff Kingsbury. So I think about the Cowboys game, the first one in Dallas, the one that Jaden got hurt for the second time in the season. And after the game, I told you guys that Dak Prescott said, we've seen that defense for the last 3 years in Dallas, so we knew exactly what they were going to do and how to attack it. So there was no element of a new scheme. There were no new ideas. It was the same shit, recycled, repackaged, and moved to Washington. You picked up the defense from Dallas, didn't bother to change any elements of it, just put the shit in a box, packaged it up, shipped it to Washington, and said, oh, this should work. you look at Cliff Kingsbury, and the knock on him is the cliff, right? After the first 8 weeks or so, teams make adjustments. He doesn't make the adjustment to the adjustment. He struggles. His offense struggles. Well, we cleared that cliff in his first year here. But another knock on Cliff was pre-snap shifts, motions, lack thereof, movement amongst his receivers. Guys are usually, stationary. Terry's going to play the X, and he's going to be on the left side of the formation, that sort of thing. We saw that. And then, obviously, Cliff doesn't make any concerted effort to mix up the looks. There is no under center with Cliff. There's no bootlegs. There's no changing the location of the quarterback. Everything is in the pocket. It's either quarterback run or it's quarterback throwing from pocket. He does not move the pocket very often. So there's no variation. So once again, an element of a new scheme, new ideas, which neither one of his coordinators had new ideas. We were running the same shit that we were running the year before, and teams knew it, and they were ready for it this year. And he went in a different lens. I'll tell you that I think that should be the thing that excites you the most if you're a Commanders fan and you're hoping for much better results than 2025 and a lot closer to 2024. This is what should get you excited. The element of fresh eyes, the element of a new scheme, new ideas, a different lens. We're about to put on the field. And again, I don't know if it's going to work. We've said this 1,000 times. We don't know if any of this is going to work. But here's what we do know. It ain't recycled, repackaged, and the same shit that the Cowboys have seen for 3 years, and they'll know exactly how to beat it. I can tell you that much. I can tell you that the shit that we'll run this year on offense and defense isn't a carbon copy of what somebody else is running around the league and make it easy for them to stop. We're going to be doing some different shit because our defense and offense will be handcrafted and built by guys who engineered it themselves. Yeah, they took bits and pieces and parts from other guys that they've been around. Who doesn't? But it's not the equivalent of Kevin O'Connell running a form of the Shanahan offense or Sean McVay running a form of the Shanahan offense or Mike McDaniel running a form of the Shanahan offense. Now, they all put their little, stank on the Shanahan offense, but it's all the Shanahan scheme. Kevin Stefanski, they all run some form of the Shanahan scheme. Clint Kubiak runs a form of the Shanahan scheme. Our shit is going to be a little bit of this, a pinch of that, some of that, a little bit of this. Give me some of that. Same thing on defense. A little bit of Vance Joseph, a little bit of Brian Flores, a little bit of Mike Zimmer, a hint of Marvin Lewis. All of that rolled into one. And a whole hell of a lot of Dante Jones. And on offense, a whole hell of a lot of David Blau. Remember, we went into the last season saying, well, it's year 2. And it wasn't more so us, it was everybody else. Well, it's year 2, and now they have film on Jaden Daniels and all of the things that you guys are going to do and yada, yada, yada. Well, guess what? They ain't got film on shit that we doing this year. They don't have a mother effing thing. They can go watch Minnesota's defense hoping that that's what we run, but it may not be. What they gonna watch for David Blau? Man ain't never called a play in this league. Was the quarterback's coach. What they gonna watch for David Blau when they try to prepare for us week 1 next year? We have a decided advantage from that standpoint. You don't know what the hell we gonna do next year. I don't know. You don't know. Hell, the players don't even know right now. They're still putting the shit together as we speak. That should be exciting. If nothing else, that should be exciting. He talked about the DJ Williams hire. He said he had watched DJ Williams from afar grow into the coach that he had become. He contacted Raheem Morris. Obviously, Raheem was the head coach in Atlanta last year to get his feel on what DJ Williams brought to the table in Atlanta. Obviously, he got a great report back from Raheem Morris and a ringing endorsement. And he said DJ Williams killed the interview. He did not consult Doug Williams on this at all, but he said he did go down to his office and say, hey, we're hiring a quarterbacks coach. We think you know him pretty well. So he talked about that. He talked about the process. DQ did. The process. And he said the process is set up like this. The coaches are learning right now as we speak the vision. So obviously there's the overarching vision, which is that of DQ. This is the type of football team we're going to be. This is how we get down, right? And we're going to talk about that a little bit later on because I think DQ said something that it resonated with me because we didn't have it last year. We didn't have it last year. But he said establishing the vision, but then the next thing is these coordinators taking their vision and disseminating that amongst all the assistant coaches so that they understand exactly what it is that they expect from them and how they want their scheme, their system to be coached. From there, they have to then find the right players, whether they are in the building currently or on other teams becoming free agents, and get that information to Adam Peters for free agency. That is their process, he said. Setting the tone for what we want this season to look like, what we want the Commander standard to be, and then executing the vision of these coordinators. Once we can establish that, then we shift our focus to our own free agents, guys that are out there from other teams that are free agents, and figuring out which ones fit what we want to do and getting that information to Adam Peters so he can bring those guys here. Help them bring their vision of what these schemes ought to be to life. He talked about communication with Jaden, and I told you guys I thought that was a pretty important thing to hear him say. Like, he's like, we're not consulting Jaden on every decision we make, which they shouldn't. Jaden hasn't even signed his next contract yet. With that contract comes a ton of power. You know, once they give Jaden, you know, $250 million, shit changes, right? But he said that everything that they did, he communicated with Jaden before it got out. He's like, I didn't want Jaden finding out about Cliff Kingsbury no longer being here from a third party, from an outside source. I didn't want him finding out about David Blau being promoted from an outside source. I didn't want him finding out about DJ Williams from an outside source. So Jaden knew about all of these things before any of it came out. That's the way it should be. Communicate with your star quarterback. Don't let them get blindsided. Don't let them be sitting up doing an interview with somebody and they hit him with some shit and he's surprised. Like, wait, what? He shouldn't be at Fanatics Fest and they throw him a bombshell. Oh, so you guys are bringing in such and such. And he's like, we are? Like, that should never happen. Not to your star quarterback. That shit can happen to your receiver, it can happen to your running back, your defensive end. It can't happen to your star quarterback, the face of your franchise. This was a really big one. DQ talked about the vision for the offense. And this is the thing that's going to capture all the headlines, and rightfully so. He said that without a doubt, Jaden Daniels will be under center a ton more this year than he was last year. Again, that's not saying much in the grand scheme of things. If you watch this team, Jaden was hardly under center. I'd say of all of the snaps he took last year, less than 5% of them were under center. It would be my guess. I'd say less than 2%. Right? But when he said that, he wasn't saying it like, oh, yeah, Jaden's going to go from 1.5% of his snaps under center to 7%. No. Half of Jaden Daniels' snaps, maybe even 60 to 70% of them will come under center next year. Like, it's going to be a huge part of this offense. If we're being honest, I believe this offense will look a lot more like Detroit's offense with Ben Johnson, Chicago's offense now with Ben Johnson. It'll look it'll be some semblance of that, right? Most of it being under center, though. You'll get your gun. You're still going to have shotgun. And, we talked about David Blau, referencing Cliff and learning from him and really seeing the value in the no huddle and the value of being in shotgun and changing the tempo and all of that stuff. So you're going to still see elements of that, but make no mistake about it. DQ said the vision for the offense is Jaden getting under center, using play action fake. He said you will see more big plays this season because of the ability to get chunk plays off of play action. I think DQ really missed that. And I think not only did he see, what's going on around the league, he saw it when we played the Vikings with Kevin O'Connell, but he probably even thought back to his Super Bowl season in 2016 with Matt Ryan, with Kyle Shanahan, and just how effective play action fake is and what it does to a defense. And him being a defensive guy, he knows how hard it is to stop play action fake, what it does to a defense, how it impacts defenses and creates opportunities for big plays. He wants to run the football more. He wants to take pressure off of Jaden. But more importantly, he wants more explosive plays and play action. Chris Cooley, I remember Chris Cooley talking about this back in 2013 and 2014 and 2015 and 2016, how important it was to have play action fake. I remember people criticizing Jay Gruden because his run offense, his rush offense, that duo bullshit that he ran, which Sean McVay runs as well, wasn't great for play action fake. See, Jay's rush offense was based off of duo. McVay has elements of duo, but that's not the bread and butter. That's not where you get the play action look from. They still run that hard outside zone, inside zone. So you can get that play action fake off of it. But if he needs some quick yards, he'll hit you with that duo fast. Quick, fast, and in a hurry. But Jay ran duo. You can't run play action fake off duo. There's no run action off of that. And when you're in gun constantly, there's no real run action. Linebackers don't respect that. And they can see it. You're already backed up away from the line of scrimmage. They can see if you're handing that ball off or not. When you turn your back to the defense to hand that ball, they can't see whether you got it or not. They have to respond and react to it. It opens up holes in that defense. Now you've got second layer throws, second level throws. And again, safeties, if you're having success, they got to come down and honor the run. Now you got a shot over the top. DQ specifically laid that out today at his press conference when talking about this offense. We're going to see more play action fake and more big plays. DQ vowed that we'll see Jaden under center. And as a byproduct of him being under center, more play action fake. And as a byproduct of more play action fake, you are in turn going to see more big plays. That's how they envision this offense looking. Vastly different than it did under Cliff Kingsbury. He was asked about the impact on Trey Amos and Mike Sainristil with the hiring of Dante Jones. And he got excited. He started to cheese and he talked about, guys like that, because obviously Dante Jones having a cornerback background, that's the position group that he really, focused on and was coaching throughout his coaching ventures around, Division I, Division II, Division III, CFL, right? You name it, he did it. NFL as a positional coach. It's always been the secondary. So you expect him to have an even better feel for what to do with guys in the secondary and where they will be best utilized. And I saw enough from Trey Amos last year to know that he's got the talent to be a big part of this defense moving forward. I don't think he's that elite dog we looking for. I think he's an elite 2 corner. We still need a number 1 corner, if you ask me. He may morph into a number 1. He's got the talent to be. I don't think he has the dog mentality to be a 1. That's what he's missing. I think he's a really good 2. A really good number 2 corner. He may be a number 1. I saw the talent to be a number 1. But Mikey is the one that I think they can truly unlock. Dante Jones can unlock. Mikey has already shown, even with him not being consistent his first 2 years. Even with that said, Mikey has produced the football. He's been the only commander to do so. How many turnovers has Mikey forced in his career? I'm curious. I'm going to look it up real quick. How many turnovers has Mike Sainristil forced in his career? See if they give us a number. Okay. So they gave us just the 2024 stats. I'm going to find the 2025 stats right now. So Mike Sainristil doesn't have any sacks, which I think that's going to change this, upcoming season under Dante Jones. He has 2 forced fumbles, 1 in each of his first 2 seasons. I remember the one against, matter of fact, I remember both of them. He had the forced fumble and recovery against the Titans in 2024. And he had the forced fumble against the Eagles in 2025 on that Saturday game that was recovered by Kane Medrano. So he's got 2 forced fumbles. He's got 1 fumble recovery, the one against the Titans. And he's got 6 interceptions total in the regular season. He's got 8 total if you count the 2 he produced in the playoffs against Detroit. So 8 total interceptions, 6 if you're just going by regular season stats. 6 total interceptions, 8 including the playoffs, and 2 forced fumbles and a recovery. So despite us being somewhat disappointed in what he has been able to produce in terms of consistency, he's produced the football. One of the few, if not the only one on this team to be able to say he's done so. So imagine what can happen with a guy like Mike Sainristil when he is now being coached by a guy that is going to unlock him and put him in positions to maximize his talents and put him in more positions like he was at Michigan when he was just a chess piece. Or as he liked to, as Dante Jones said, having Mikey play downhill. He said, we got a lot of guys that have talent that will be better served if they're playing downhill, not moving backwards. Sounds good to me. He was asked, was DQ, about the decision to go with Darnell Stapleton over Bobby Johnson. So he took the high road here, didn't shit on Bobby Johnson. Instead, he just talked about Darnell Stapleton and him being ready for the opportunity, his skill set and what he believes in and his philosophical beliefs align with what they're moving towards this year. Again, we hit this one, the nail on the head. We talked about it already, that they are making the switch to a ZBS. And in order to do that, you need someone who preaches that, who teaches that. And Bobby Johnson, O-line Bobby Johnson didn't. He was more of a gap guy. So you can't ask him to teach something that he's not well versed in. It's like somebody that speaks Spanish and you say, hey, can you teach me German? No, bro, I speak Spanish, right? That's my second language that I'm very fluent in. I can teach you Spanish. No, I want to learn German. Okay, well, you got to get somebody that speaks German that can teach you how to speak German. That's Darnell Stapleton. So, last 2 things from DQ. This one was a big one for me. He talked about recapturing the swag. We lost our swag in 2025. You think about the 2024 team, we were dancing, we were having, and again, winning breeds that, right? You win and it's fun, and now everybody gets to have a good time. You're losing and it's not as fun. You know, I think about the early portion of the season when there was still light at the end of the tunnel. I'm not saying that they weren't having fun, but it didn't seem as fun as it did the year prior. The Giants game in week 1, that felt like more of a relief. It didn't feel like fun. Clearly, the Packers game in week 2 was a debacle, and injuries came with it. Even the week 3 win without Jaden didn't feel as fun. It was fun. I enjoyed it. It was our only 40 burger of the year. Who would have thought that was the only 40 burger we'd serve up? But it didn't produce as much joy as it should have. The defense got rocked in that game. Geno Smith turned it over almost every single week last season. He didn't turn it over against us. Threw for 3 touchdowns, damn near 300 yards. It didn't feel fun. We didn't have any swag in that game. Damn sure ain't have any swag against Atlanta. They were the ones swag surfing on us. Came back, rekindled some of that. The one game it felt like we had swag in was the Chargers game. Jaden and Debo in the huddle talking about the dance they were going to do before they did it. We didn't have that kind of swagger last year. I want to see the guys that make me feel like nobody on the water got swagger like us, swagger like us, swagger like us. No one on the corner got swagger like us, swagger like us, swagger like us. I felt that in 2024. I didn't feel that last year. DQ said, we got to recapture our swag. He's damn right about that. I don't know what that looks like, how you recapture that. Winning goes a long way, I would assume. But maybe you got to go get the right players. Maybe you got to, like, they got to figure it out. Hopefully Dante Jones and having David Blau as your play callers help. But I think that's more of a player's thing than it is a coach's thing. The swag comes from the players. Hopefully they get that right this year. I think, you know what? I feel like we were a younger team in 2024. Yeah, it was a lot of guys that were here that were, you know, on one-year deals, et cetera, et cetera. But I feel like we were a younger team. Just feel like we were older. We were so old last year. It's hard to have swag with a bunch of old guys. Jonathan Jones ain't going to have no swag. Von Miller ain't got no swag. I can keep going with all the old-ass players we had last year. It ain't no swag attached to those dudes. They swagless. That's another reason why you got to get younger this offseason, which we will. And then the last thing he talked about that I thought was pertinent, that he made sure he said, and I thought it was important for him to say this, because this was a big talking point at the end of the season. DQ's going to have his hands all in the defensive, cookie jar. He's going to have his fingerprints, his sticky ass fingerprints all over the defense. He was hot after the season. And he said, I had to take a step back, take my ego and shit out of the equation because I was all in the mix. He basically said that, and I'm paraphrasing. He realized in order for us to have different results, we got to do different shit. And if we're going to do different shit, I got to take a step back and let guys do their thing. So you couldn't bring a defensive coordinator in here and say, hey, we're going to run my scheme. I just want you to coach it. Or we can run your scheme, but I'm going to put elements of my shit in here. Put my fingerprints all over your defense. He said, no. I told Durante, this is your defense, bro. This is all your shit. You tell me what you need. We will go get it. You assess what we already have. We'll keep it. If you can't use it, we'll discard it. You bring in your coaches so they can teach it. But this is your defense. This is your system. You implement it. I'm just here for support. He said the same thing about David Blau, but to a lesser degree because Blau was already here. He was already here. And DQ ain't as hands-on with the offense. He just wants to make sure, hey, we running the ball and we getting on the center. Like this is going to be a professional offense. But he made it very specific when he said, this is Durante's system. Anyway, I digress. That was, I'm glad to hear him say that. So that was DQ's press conference. We're going to get a word from our sponsor, come back on the other side. And then we'll get to your comments, and then I will get you guys out of here. Sleeper. Sleeper is the best way to experience and connect over sports together. It's a one-stop shop for all of your sports needs. You can celebrate and chat in the games in real time with other users, get the fastest scores, blazing fast news and alerts right at your fingertips. Play in fantasy leagues and win real money on picks contests. So enjoy sports the way they were meant to, together. Download the #1 sports app today. Predict the hottest football stats like passing yards, receiving yards, touchdowns, interceptions, and much more to cash in on your daily fantasy football skills. Use promo code LTN and Sleeper will match your first deposit up to $100. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. Sleeper. All right. So let's get to the comment section. See what you guys have to say. And oh Lord. Oh Lord. Duncan Wright. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, judging from what the chat is saying, no one cares. Go on vacation. Okay. Night a scarf? Go have a cold one, Duncan, or 2 or 3. On me. On me. Duncan, never change, bro. Never change. Good to have you back, man. You've healed up over your postseason loss, I see. Took you a while to come back and see us. It's been a while. You good now? All right. James LaRue, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, tell me why I'm watching Nightcap the other night after the Super Bowl, and I hear him read a Commander Super, and it's Base for Zion talking that old school ball. Hey, Base for Zion is spreading that gospel everywhere, bruh. Anybody can get it, man. Y'all gonna listen when he talk about smash mouth football. Hey, shout out to Base for Zion, man. Hey, he be talking that smash mouth football shit. And he be dead ass too. Mr. Ron B, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. OG, triple OG, Mr. Ron B. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, what's up, Lou? What's up, OG? As a longtime special education teacher, defensive coordinator Jones's IEP reference hit home for me. Very impressive individual. I talked to my wife about it. I told you my wife was really going to enjoy that. And she did enjoy that thoroughly. That one resonated for me as well. Because I know what it is. And again, usually IEPs carry a negative connotation, right? Even though they help students who need them, right? And in this particular case, him using IEPs as a way to enhance these players' attributes, highlight their strengths, figure out what's their best way to learn, things of that nature. I think it's brilliant. To do that for every single player is so thorough. It's so forward thinking. And it could save the careers, at least in Washington. Again, Jartavis Martin could have gone to Miami and become a Pro Bowler for all we know. But he was on the verge of being out of here. He still may not make it here. Like Dante Jones isn't a savior. Jartavis has to figure it out. But he may be able to put Jartavis in better positions to play the kind of football that restores his confidence that he had coming into the NFL from Illinois. Same thing with Mikey Saberstill. Sometimes guys have to be reminded that, hey, you the shit. Ain't nobody effing with you. If you don't have that kind of confidence, it's hard for you to thrive. You might be able to survive in the NFL. It's hard for you to thrive. In any profession, not just sports, in any profession. If you don't think you the shit, if you think you're basic, then it's going to be hard for you to thrive in your profession. Because you just like everybody else. If you think you just like everybody else, then you are. Then you are. I always tell people, if I ain't going to do nothing else, I'm going to sell me. I can tell you why I am better than the next man. I can sell you on me. If you can't sell yourself on why you belong, why you're better than this guy or that guy, then you lost the thing that got you to the NFL, which is that athletic arrogance. Maybe Dante Jones with his IEPs can help restore that for some of these guys. Hey, here's what you do well, bro. Here's what we see in you. And this is what we're going to do to try to put you in positions to get you back to doing the things that we think you do well. Man, I hope it works for some of these dudes. Because we at wit's end with some of them. Pun intended. Super impressive, man. I walked away floored. I get why DQ was super impressed with Dante Jones. I get it. I'm not surprised that he was blown away because I've listened to him talk so many times. I get it, but today was even more eye-opening. Like, I told my wife today, and I understand everybody that has PTSD. I get it. We did the Joe Witt thing. We did the Eric Bieniemy thing. To a lesser degree, the Jack Del Rio thing. I get it. You have scars. This talking shit ain't doing nothing for you. I get it. Totally. But I can also say he feels different. He sounds different. And like I told y'all in 2024, he is different. He talking not in code. He ain't talking in some sort of motivational tone and speech. It ain't a bunch of cliches. He ain't striking iron. He ain't cracking skulls. He's just telling you, this is what we're going to do. Here's how we're going to do it. This is why we're going to do it. I think I told my wife, I said, I think we got us a guy this time. Again, I could be wrong. We'll see. Only time will tell. Only time will tell. Duncan Wright. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up rights. Hey, Lou, next year, can you do us all a favor? Oh, Lord, here we go. Can you actually talk about the Commanders? I mean, some Mondays and Thursdays, you always be talking about other teams. I come here for the Commanders, all you scrubs. So again, I feel like a broken record when I have to tell you this all the time. This isn't just the Commanders channel. It's an NFL channel. So the vast majority of what I talk about is Commanders related, yes. But not everything I talk about is Commanders related. So every Monday, Sunday night, Thursday night, I'm going to be here breaking down the games. And if the Commanders don't happen to be playing, then guess what? Grab you a cold one, drink yourself into a stupor, and come back the next day when I do Commanders Nightly News. Got it? You think you figure it out by now. But again, I already told you, you're a closet Commanders fan. You come here for the Commanders content. You just told on yourself. You really want to be a part of this. Hey, we here, man. When you ready to admit what you really are, we here, bruh. Let us know. We'll support you, bro. You already a part of the mob. You know you deep down inside, your mama already a Commanders fan. You a fan too, bro. Just admit it. It's all good, man. It's all good. GT7, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB who writes. LT, what's good? What's good with you, GT? We got some nerds at OCDC, boy. Look, I was telling my wife, we definitely got a nerd on offense. David Blau is super nerdy, bruh. David, ref days and timelines all mapped out. DJ implementing IEPs and ref the different learning styles referenced, right? Preach. The boys seem humble. They are absolutely humble. And they have a plan. They have a plan. And I really believe they've been around some of the best minds and they understand the importance of the individual. Eric Bieniemy didn't care about individuals. He didn't give a shit about a Terry McLaurin. He cared about his scheme. Same thing with Scott Turner. Could care less about anything other than his scheme. Joe Witt Jr. scheme. If they just do what I tell them to do, when I tell them to do it, it should work. Instead of saying, how do I put these players in the best positions possible to succeed? These guys understand that it's not the scheme that's going to get the best out of these players. It's putting the players in the best positions within the scheme. Big difference. AJ Brown, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. AJ writes, "Sup, Lou? Sup, AJ? Remember the time DQ said we lost, but we're not lost anymore?" Yeah, that was a pretty famous quote after the Denver Broncos game. I think he was referring to this upcoming season. Now believe we're found. HTTC. I do as well. I got to see the offseason in totality. I think we're off to a great start. But I got to see the offseason in totality because if you don't do enough in terms of adding talent to this roster, then I still think you're foraging through the woods looking for your cabin. Or you're one of those people who park your car in a parking lot and have no idea where the hell your car is. And in order to find it, you got to hit the alarm button. Shame on you if you can't remember where the hell you parked your car at. Or you don't have enough wherewithal to look to see where a landmark is to identify where the car is. So when you come back, you can at least have a general vicinity of where the car is parked. Right now, I think that we're walking out towards the parking lot. We got a sort of area, like it's a huge area, not close enough to narrow it down that we know the car is parked somewhere over there, but we're not quite sure exactly where. This offseason is going to help narrow down that search. And if they nail the offseason, then I do think we're found. But right now, TBD, TBD, TBD. James LaRue, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes? I had a rewind because I was like, ain't no way. Well, I hope you were able to catch up. Normally, I would ask you what you were referring to, but that could easily be a setup. Luck has forever changed the game. It'll never be the same. It'll never be the same. So I can't even ask simple questions no more. Anyway, I digress. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on this installment of Command Post Live. Post up, take command. You guys enjoy the rest of your evening. The Kings will be live tomorrow night. I might be back tomorrow during the day. If not, you'll see me with the Kings tomorrow. I'm going to let these press conference videos breathe a little bit. There was a lot to digest. And we'll see if anything else comes out tomorrow that is noteworthy. But I think we're not going to hear anything really from the Commanders' side of things. And one more thing. I meant to bring this up when I showed you guys this picture earlier. I do want to make sure I bring this up. Y'all see what jersey Tress got on, right, in this photo? Like, I showed you the imagery the other day from what the team posted. Like, I keep telling y'all, they're dropping breadcrumbs, right? They're dropping breadcrumbs. This is the 2026 imagery that the team posted on their social media accounts. You see what jersey they have on, right? You go to the trade getting extended. You see what jersey. They could have just put him in one of the other Commander uniforms. He wears that way more than he wears this one. But you see what he's got on, right? Because they're telling you what this is going to be moving forward, right? They're dropping breadcrumbs. The change is coming. Just so we're clear. Just so we're on the same page. James LaRue, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. James writes, talking about the nightcap. Okay, got you. Got you. Base for Zion is hilarious, bro. Base for Zion is hilarious, bro. I always tell y'all, you can tell how old somebody is by how they approach the game, what their mentality is. You know, Base for Zion was about 15, 16, 17, 18 years old in the Riggins era. That was his golden age, right? He wants them to turn the clock back to the Hogs so bad. Bless his heart. Shout out to Base for Zion, man. Anyway, y'all get out of here. Enjoy the rest of your evening. And I will see you guys tomorrow. You guys take care. God bless and good night.